I don't know if I'm gonna make this a part two to the video I just uploaded, but couple of other things I want to just tack on. So this may be a short video, but speaking back on the Black revolutionaries who done their research, who pretty much can show you physical proof of what's happening. I can't speak on the research. I cannot speak on in details, names, locations, laws that was put in. I can do my research and do it. But if there is already a vast number of African Americans, revolutionaries, who have this knowledge, and only way they're sharing it is via the internet or a DVD, then they have a awareness that they're not that stupid to actually physically do something to change African Americans. Because everyone knows any African American that is wealthy in the mainstream media, they know that they're puppets. They're only made it because they're allowed to make it. And you know they don't. Only time they really say anything is when something racist happens. But if an African American get killed by a stray bullet, they don't say anything. So everyone knows this little cat and mouse game, if you want to call it that. And the revolutionaries know this information. They can tell you a list of every single person who was a puppet to basically the masters that are African American. I mean, African American being the puppets, because African American and the word master don't even go in the same sentence, really. Because we have nothing to be masters of. Absolutely nothing. So these revolutionaries, they know that once you challenge the system, you will basically be putting your life in jeopardy. Which is true, because the system, like I said, the system can kill you more ways than one. But what African Americans, truthfully, what we need to do, and I got a lot of theories on it, but we have to team up with another non-African American revolutionary group. But African Americans, they are so pro-black, they will not. Like, if you're watching this right now, I would highly recommend it watching the Alex Jones channel, or go to Infowars.com. They have I think they have one African, maybe two African Americans on their team, but they're a team. And they team up with different, they don't care who you are, what race you are, that doesn't even matter. The matter is the fact that they're trying to get the word out to fight what's happening, to be a revolutionary. That's what a revolutionary is. You're fighting against a system. So if you got group A, B, and C fighting against the system, African Americans, we don't want to be a part of that because they're not African American. So you're fighting for the same thing, but you're not going to fight with this group because of their race. But yet you don't want to call yourself racist. I mean, go figure. So African Americans, we cannot succeed. We can't even stand on our own for basic stuff. So why would you try to stay on your own for something that's serious? I mean, we can't stand alone. We have to stand united. And I'm sorry, here's the funniest thing about it. Let's talk about the white racist groups in this country. Now, you probably say, well, what about them? Two things that you can pretty much distinctly tell characteristics of white races. One, they don't like any other race but white. Wow. Didn't know that. You know, it's white racists. But two, they're patriots. And the second one outweighs the first by a long shot. So if you have white racists who actually don't like the system that is being forced upon them, and they're willing to fight against this system, African Americans, it won't hurt to team up with white racists to fight against the system. And we can fight later. If we want to go against the white races later on, fine, let's do it. But until then, the system is willing to take down both groups. And white races, majority of them, if not all of them, they're already armed and ready. They already have guns. They have stockpiles, ammunition. They go to shooting ranges. They have tactical plans, bunkers. African Americans, what we have? Church. What else? But we don't have church. We just rent it until the system tell you that the God that you've been worshiping is going to change. So, teaming up with a revolutionary group, no matter if they're white racists or not, if this group is teaming up against the system, let's team up. Let's create a revolution. Why do you think they stopped teaching history in schools? Because the system is scared of that word, revolution. That's why no one really studies history no more. Because revolution is throughout any type of history you can find. The word revolution and revolutionary acts is throughout history. When the system is not doing the people right, there is a revolution. Plain and simple. But we have black revolutionaries who will not team up with non-black revolutionaries. Because why? But they will not say they're racist. Black revolutionaries will not say they're racist. Nope. They would not admit that. So, because I always had a theory. This theory is far-fetched, maybe. But it kind of makes sense. It kind of did make sense because I see it happening. But the theory is this. Once the African Americans, well, put it like this. Once the businessmen knew that African Americans was going to be free from slavery, during those year or two, I believe that the masters, basically the police, it's something you have to look up. But I believe what they did was they actually started the great divide between African Americans. A great divide. And the divide was really to separate the house Negro from the field Negro. A concept that's to this day is you can go on the internet and find that. But they changed the word house Negro to a coon, house Negro to sell out, Uncle Ruckus. It's the thing about Uncle Ruckus that a lot of African Americans don't know. You might want to go in detail of Uncle Ruckus from the cartoon Boondocks. Just take a look at it. Why do you think Boondocks was trying to get canceled? Not because of everything else, because of Uncle Ruckus. Not because how he was saying it, was what he was saying. But it's a little far-fetched. But let me get back on the subject. The masters created a divide between the house Negro and the field Negro. Why? Well, here's my theory. The house Negro was, by definition, in the house. And the house Negro was basically in the same room or around the corner when the masters was having business meetings. So the house Negro, if had any sort of comprehension, no matter if it was a male or female house Negro, they were still listening to business meetings, tactics, advancements, everything. So knowing that the African Americans was going to get freed, they had to kill the house Negro. Why? Because the house Negro can easily take what they know, their business knowledge that they do now have, and create a business. So that's when I would say that the Great Divide happened. They wanted the house Negro and the field Negro to be separated, where the field Negro to turn on the house Negro. Why? Because once you get freed, the house Negro can say, hey, I have this great business idea, learn from the masters. Let's do this. The field Negro say, fuck you, fuck off, and close the door. So now the house Negro is running, trying to find someone to thinking, well, would help them. You would think it would be former slaves, but no, it's former field slaves and house slaves. So these businessmen, they tried to round up all the house Negroes and kill them. And so they rounded up a couple of other white Americans to say, hey, let's go kill some niggers. Why? Just because. Wait a minute, one of them raped my daughter. Let's go kill him. And all they was just they would kill 50 African Americans just to really kill maybe 5. Because they do not want African Americans to take over a business that will make them money. So this started happening, you know, that's why it's 3 generations of the KKK. First generation just happened to start when African Americans was freed. So here's my theory on that. So they start killing African Americans left and right. African Americans then fled to the north. Eventually, they knew African Americans was going to come back down to the south once the smoke is cleared. So that's when they revoked our 40 acres and the mule. Have you seen 40 acres? Continuously. Like maybe in a box, square, rectangle, whatever. 40 acres is a lot of land. What could African Americans do with 40 acres? They can create, we could have created our own. And the white masters knew this. Well, not even the white masters, the businessmen knew this. I can't call them white racists. They're businessmen. Because don't forget, the separation of class existed well before racism ever had. And separation of class is basically what's driving this world right now. But in the United States, they always put the racist card on the table, knowing that it's not even a real card. I'm going to pause it for a second. Alright, it was really Gardner. Well, I'm gonna keep continuing, but yeah, white businessmen was afraid of the work ethic and the fact that the house Negro would have told the field Negro that we can start a business and basically take over a certain business. So let's say cotton. We already used to picking it. Now we're picking it for our own profit and selling it to our former masters. And white businessmen knew this. And knew once the theory of having our own get started, it wasn't going to stop. Like I said in my previous video, once African Americans are pushing a certain direction, it's hard to push us in another direction. That it's a gift and it's a curse. And right now, it's a curse. We're getting pushed basically we're getting pushed off a cliff, and no one wants to turn around and take a look and see what we're about to fall to. So that is my theory, that the KKK was really started by white businessmen who was afraid that African Americans was going to take over their businesses. They had to kill the house Negro because the house Negro had inside knowledge of how a business worked, how much profit, things that businessmen would talk about. And they feared that. They feared it so much that they had to literally start killing African Americans. Hopefully they'll get all the house Negroes. But they didn't. But the ones that did go free eventually ended up on Black Wall Street. And you can look that up. You can say, well, not too many people died during the Black Wall Street whole thing. Okay, who wrote what happened? Who told what happened? Did the African American say, hey, this is what happened? No. A white person did. And more likely a white businessman. To downgrade it as basically a little race riot, some hoopla, whatever. Only a few African Americans died. That's a lie. What died was an African American business. The last African American business in the United States. And that was back almost turn on the damn century. So basically, African Americans cannot own anything. Period. And that's what. Well, just conclude with this. What is that? I think his name was Big Meeks. He had a brother. There was drug dealers, and they own a rap label in Atlanta, out of Atlanta. It's from Detroit, but they're out of Atlanta. I forgot how it's called, Big Money something, whatever. But everybody know that his name was Big Meeks, was one of the brothers. And they both are in jail right now. They had a nice, technically successful drug business. And they was like, oh, eventually, they said Big Meeks was all in a group of spending money left and right, making it rain, stupid as fuck. But I don't think that's why they actually got busted. I think they got busted because they found out they can flip their money to legitimate, real businesses. And it would have worked if they would have stuck to rap. Making rap music, talk about money, bitches, hoes, blah, blah, blah. The same stereotypical shit that rappers rap about now. Except for the free speech rappers. They rap on a whole different level. But when they wanted to flip money to a non-stereotypical black business, like maybe anything, building computers or making cars, something that's not stereotypical, basically doesn't have to do with music, movie, or sports. Anything else, even basic stuff like chicken business. They say chicken is stereotypical, but if you wanted to open your own chain of restaurants, they had the money to do so. And that's what they was about to do. They was about to open businesses that's not stereotypical of African Americans. And the white businessman say, okay, you had to run. Now we're about to have our fun looking at you go to jail. So that's what happened. They only killed one person that was by accident. And I don't think they actually killed the dude. But after that, it was like basically, oh, you selling drugs now. We do wiretaps, blah, blah, blah. And that is all. So basically, if African Americans, drug dealers, if you try to flip your money to a legitimate, non-stereotypical black business, you will be taken down like dogs. And you would put to rest. Your ideal, So, African American drug dealers, you're in position to do something that would piss off the system. And I'm talking about the male African drug dealers. Females, you're in position to take back a neighborhood. So you get with the drug dealers and y'all come up with a good idea of how to do it. It's easy. I mean, it's simple, but it's about doing it, not talking about it, about physically doing it. African Americans, we don't physically do anything unless it's against another African American. All right.